Hey y'all. Alrighty. As you can see, I've got the 360 exposed here for maybe the second or third time this year. And I want to put something to rest. Okay? I want to put there's some haters and some other people who think they know better than me about rocker shafts. And there's some people with some genuine questions about the rocker shafts. Location, how do they fit? Where do they go? Uh, rocker arms. Is there a left and right side to the rocker arms? Is there intake and exhaust? Yada, 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 yada. Um, so I'm going to answer those questions and I'm going to help you all out on this. Okay. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who claim to know and are haters, I'm probably going to piss you off even more. And honestly, that sounds like a win-win for everybody, except for the haters. So I don't really care. Okay, but first, let's have a commercial. I want to say thank you so much to everyone for all the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. It is amazing. It is awesome. We're now over 2,090, 2,900, no, 2,200 and 2,900. That would be nice. 2,290, I think it's 93 or 92 subscribers. So it's pretty amazing. I really appreciate it. I thank you so much for that. But let's get back to the subject at hand, okay? All right. So, LA engines, 360, 318, 273, 340, even the 239 LA, like that one, that uses a rocker shaft. How do you put it on? What's the correct orientation? What's the correct way to do it? What do you do? All right, before we go into all of that, we need to establish a couple of things that is very, very critically important. Okay? First of all, this is the front of the engine. Okay? That is the back of the engine. Pretty simple, isn't it? Okay. Now, this camera doesn't do this. The camera I've got now doesn't do this. But my previous camera, if I flipped the image, if I went to a different camera from, let's say, one side of the phone to the other side of the phone, it would flip the image. Sometimes some people would get confused on that. But this one doesn't really do that. Okay? So, but front of the engine, back of the engine. Right head, left head. You might say, how do you know? Well, actually, it's very simple. When they're talking left side and right side of the engine, they're always focusing on you, the driver, being in the driver's seat, sitting behind the engine. Okay? Not you standing in front of the engine, like with the hood open, looking at it. If you're standing there looking at it, then this is still the left side, that's still the right side. That never changes. About the only time that would ever change is if maybe you have some sort of backwards orientation of the engine. Maybe you've got like a jet boat with a V drive, and then the engine would be backwards or something like that. Or maybe some sort of construction equipment or something like that. Otherwise, this orientation of left and right never changes. Never, 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 never. Okay? And it doesn't matter. This can be pretty much any engine, any manufacturer out there. That never changes. Okay? That is a constant. So, let's go to the manual. Or manuals. Okay. here we go. We're going to go first. We're going to start with Haynes. What does Haynes say? The rocker arm shaft should be installed with a notch on the left side shaft pointing to the center line and front of the engine. Okay. All right, so here's my left side rocker arm shaft. The notch is not back here. Where is it? It's right there, and it's pointing towards the center line of the engine. Okay, you can see it's pointing down towards the crank and the cam. Center line of the engine. Now, let's go back to the manual. Manual says, and the notch on the right side of the shaft, right side shaft, pointing to the center line and rear of the engine. Here we've got the back of the engine. See, here's the bell housing face. Right here. Rocker arm shaft right here. Here's the notch. It's pointing down towards the center line of the engine. Holy crap. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to believe that. I can only get my information from Haynes. So, let's go to Haynes. Let's see. The notch on the end of both 318 and 360 rocker shafts should point to the engine center line and toward the front of the engine on the left cylinder head. Already established that. And towards the rear on the right side. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go over here to this 318, and let's look at this. Let me get a light real quick. Yeah. Hold on. I'll be right back. I got to get a light. Okay. Here we are. Here's the 318, the $50 318, and these rocker shafts have never been off this engine. Look here. This is the right-hand side, and its notch is pointing. There's the notch right there, plain as day. You can see it. Yep, right there. Okay. All right. Let's look back here on this one. While we're back here. This rocker shaft, no notch back here. This is the left head. Left head. You see the notch. Right there. Plain as day. Go back over here to the right head. Passenger side head. Yep, there we go. Okay. Now, well, according to a lot of the haters, I'm still wrong. So I'll tell you what, this was a Haynes. No, this was a Chilton's manual that I just got that information from. I just read that from it. So let's go to this book. Dodge, 1969 Service Manual, Polara and Monaco. Okay. Pretty much the end, the gospel. Okay. Install rocker arm shaft. Rocker arm shaft and shaft assembly. Install rocker arm and shaft assemblies with notch on end of rocker shaft pointing to center line of engine and toward front of engine on the left. Bank. And to the rear on the right bank, making sure to install the long stamped steel retainers in the number 2 and 4 positions. Tighten to 30 foot-pounds. I just read that off there, that little bit there on the end, just for y'all. Okay. So, that is the absolute gospel. Okay? That is the end. That's it, right there. Anybody wants to argue with that, go to Chrysler and tell them they're wrong. You do it. You go to Chrysler, you tell them they're wrong. Because I'm not arguing with people about that. Okay? This is correct. This is correct. Okay? And this is the orientation. I have seen, I don't know how many, I've lost track of how many Mopar small block V8s have this orientation here. The LA Mopar small block V8s, they have this orientation. Okay? That is the way they do it. Now, as far as rocker arms, is there a left and right? No, there is not. However, there is, if you've taken all of these off your rocker shaft and you cleaned it and all of that sort of stuff, but you forgot to number them or mark them or anything else, or the rocker shaft and the orientation, how they go on, let me just give you a quick little rundown. It's really, really easy. Make sure when you're assembling, your rocker arms are centered over the valve stem tips. Okay? Make sure they're centered. That's what you want. You want to make sure they're just centered. Let's go over here to the $50 318. Okay, what have we got here? It's centered. That's centered. Okay, now if you'll notice, they're made just a little differently, you know, one side to the other. Okay, so you want to also make sure that your push rods don't come in here and get bound up. Okay, you want to make sure they don't get bound up. You want to make sure all of that stuff is out of the way and nothing is getting in the way of anything else. Okay, if it's getting bound up and rubbing against something else or anything like that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That is the end of that. Okay, so before you comment and you say, hey, you're doing that wrong, the rocker arms are not going to oil correctly. Well, you know what? Right there. Right there. That is the gospel. That is the end word. There is nothing else to be said about it. This has been done in accordance, in agreement with this. If you don't like this, and you don't like me pointing this out, and you don't like it that I'm telling you this, all of this, then that's fine. You don't have to like it. Okay? I've only been doing this since 1992. Okay? 1992. As a professional. Earning a paycheck. Working on vehicles. Okay? So, now that I've got that out of the way, and I'm going to climb down off my soapbox for just a minute. I'm not going to go on more rants about it. As you can tell, I'm a little upset about that. I'm a little irate because people want to keep squawking about this sort of thing, and it's pointless. Okay? Because there is a point to it, but it's pointless when the person who is noting all of this stuff is not looking correctly at the stuff that's being done. So, okay? So they're not noticing, okay, hey, there's a left side of the engine, there's a right side, the left side is the driver's side, the right side is the passenger side. Okay? So, now, however, if that engine was in England, then the right side would be the driver's side and the left side would be the passenger side. So, there you go. All right. So, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm not going to address any more questions about this anymore. I've made probably something like 4 or 5 videos about this. Go back, look at my previous videos, check it out. It's there. You can find it. Okay? Oh, one more thing. These washers or spacers, you notice this one's just a little bit smaller than this one. Here, we'll let you look at this clean one. Okay, see how wide this one is, and then see how narrow this one is? That's very important. So you got wide, wide. Okay, let's back the camera up. You got wide and wide, narrow, narrow, narrow. So narrow in the middle, narrow on the ends, wide right there. So the wide ones go essentially right above your, pretty much centered right above your intake ports. Okay? See, right over here, same thing. Boop. And then boop, right there. Okay? Narrow, narrow, narrow. Pretty simple. Okay. Now, that rant, let me also state, that rant I was doing earlier was not about anyone who wants to learn this. That was not directed at you. If you want to learn this, I am more than happy to talk to you about this and discuss this with you. But if you want to sit around and argue and be a hater and all of that, I got news for you on that too. Well, you know what? Go out here and get yourself a life. Okay? Go find something you can do. And if you don't like what I'm doing, hey, make your own video. Okay? You can do that. All right? Hey. Okay, so that's about it. That about wraps it all up. I thank you so much for watching. God bless. Have a great one. And if you have any further questions about this or any other videos, you know what to do. Comment down below, and I'll see you later. Thank you. God bless.